Those San Francisco cases are concentrated at the city's largest homeless shelter. The city is trying to contain that outbreak by moving individuals into hotels. But what about the city's unsheltered homeless? KPIX 5's Wilson Walker on a possible large-scale plan to space out the sidewalks.
When you can't crowd people into buses, you need more buses. The fleet behind me is taking people out of San Francisco's homeless shelters and into hotels, and that includes the source of the city's largest single outbreak. Today, the city's largest homeless shelter looked very much like an emergency medical ward. The sheriff's deputies outside were in full protective gear, and some residents, presumably those not infected, were ferried to hotels the city has secured to isolate vulnerable populations.
And we had plans to staff up hotel rooms as rapidly as we possibly can in case an outbreak occurred.
For weeks, a number of city supervisors and homeless advocates had been pushing for broader use of hotel rooms ahead of such an outbreak.
We need to move people into hotels now. It is absolutely inevitable that we're going to have outbreaks in all the shelters. It's impossible not to.
But the mayor's office resisted that approach, using hotel rooms on a more tactical scale, arguing that the city simply does not have the staff for housing the homeless at large and at will.
If you can't self-care, you're still going to come inside somewhere, but we need more care wrapped around you for that to be successful. Staff enough people, everything from monitoring to security to medical to counselors to all of the supplies that need to be on site.
That we can feed people, that we can clean the rooms, that we can do the laundry, making sure that we can keep the people that we are asking to work at these hotels safe.
I'm in the business, my organization is the business of housing homeless people out of shelters, and it's not as fast a process as many of the supervisors realize. It takes more time.
Randy Shaw is director of the Tenderloin Housing Clinic. He says the risk inside shelters isn't at all separated from the situation outside of them, and he points to MSC South as an example. While there was security visible today, yesterday afternoon, we saw shelter residents mingling with those living in tents just beyond the shelter door.
The hotel issue is a different issue, and how we space in the shelters. The people we're talking about are not even able to get into the shelters, and there's no spacing on the streets, and somehow the city doesn't care. And when they say that they are allowing tents, that's not true. They're only allowing them in the Tenderloin, so you can't even literally walk out of your apartment or hotel in the Tenderloin and be safe outside your front door because there's tents there.
His suggestion, and one the city is now considering, a large-scale outdoor encampment for those still on the sidewalks.
I mean, Civic Center Park behind you is completely vacant. The Fulton Mall next to the Asian Art Museum and library are completely vacant. And they could do it with bathroom structures, with food. They could do that tomorrow. There's nothing to stop that, and they don't do that. And so I think advocates are very frustrated that the whole process at every level is taking more time.
The slowness to make things happen has always been a problem. The challenge on the streets has always been a problem. These are constants.
You've hit what you just said is really an important point. I think hasn't been fully understood or discussed in this whole thing, which is that we've tolerated homelessness in our society since 1982, and now the chickens have come home to roost, and you see just how damaging and destructive it is for the whole population.
The city says it is working its way towards what it calls shelter equilibrium. That means getting the vulnerable out while those inside can be safely distanced from each other. And as for any large sanctioned outdoor encampment, the city promises details on that in the coming days. In San Francisco, Wilson Walker, KPIX 5.